So, welcome everyone. Welcome to the event, the World Coaching and Leadership Summit. Get yourselves settled in. We've got quite a few people coming in from the waiting room. So, whilst we're waiting for everyone to get settled, give us a quick message into the chat box. Let us know how you're doing today, and we'll aim to get started in the next minute or so. But I hope you're well. It's great to see some familiar faces and some new faces too. Feel free to pop those videos on so we can see all of your wonderful faces. I do appreciate it. It's 6:30. But it's nice to see you all. And we're all quite visual people, so it's helpful to see those faces as we go through, see the reaction of my words and the speaker's words for the evening. Okay, let's have a little look in the chat box to see where you're all coming from. So we've got Spain in the house. Welcome, Monica. Scotland, plenty around the UK. We've got Turkey, Belgium, Romania. Appreciate the little plug that you've got in there, Manoj. Welcome. We've been waiting for this all week. Good. Lots to look forward to. I appreciate that. Welcome, Greg. Yeah, hopefully the long summer is very slowly arriving in the UK. We've got Tunisia in the house. Great. Lovely to see a very eclectic bunch of people from all over the world. Great to have you all and welcome. So today's session is the World Coaching and Leadership Summit speaking event. So we've got a range of phenomenal speakers with lots of experience and diverse backgrounds that were delivering talks in a very much TED style environment over the period of this evening. The talks will be between about 8 and 12 minutes on average and be from a range of topics, but with that leadership and coaching quality. So there'll be talks that you can probably relate to, things that'll be able to help you with your goals, your next steps, what you want to do moving forward in your lives. I'll be your host. My name's Josh, your host and coach for the duration of the day. So I'll be there talking about the speakers, introducing you, being the fluff piece, essentially. They've hired me to just be the person in between all of the good stuff. So I'll be talking to you. If you have questions, feel free to direct any questions towards me in the chat box, and I'm more than welcome to help and support you. But first things first, I'm curious as to what brought you in. What made you want to book on to today's session? What was the thing that drew your attention, whether it was an advertisement, the email, whatever it might have been for you? What about it captured your attention? Give me your thoughts into the chat box. Can we take notes? Absolutely not. You must not take any notes. But yes, I'm completely kidding. You can take notes. I encourage it. There'll be lots of things to take away. And I will try to restrain my sarcasm. I'll try, I promise.
Mom, I'm hungry.
Learning about leadership, learning about coaching, what to improve. Great. We've got some peers in the speaking list. Good. Wonderful. Yep. Some of you signed up to some training programs with us. That's great. Hello, Sybil. How are you doing? You were in a similar situation just a couple of years ago, I think, weren't you? It's great to have you back. And I wonder how it feels being in the audience side for a change. Good. So lots of things to look forward to for the event today. And I do encourage you to ask questions, to engage. It's quite a back and forth event where you'll be listening to speakers. But the nice thing is you can actually engage with them. And I think that's one of the benefits of these online events opposed to an actual speaking event. Some of the time you go to those big speaking events and you kind of just sat in the audience. It's nice, it's helpful because you get to hear from lots of people, but you are kind of just listening. With events like this, you can engage with the audience. You can ask them questions. You can participate in lots of different ways. And I really do encourage you to do that. So the chat box will be your home pretty much for the most part to be able to do that, asking questions, engaging with any of the speakers. It can be done whilst they're speaking, after they're speaking. They're probably not going to be engaging with you whilst they're speaking. They've probably got a talk that they've prepared in a structured way. But afterwards, they might find themselves engaging with you in the chat box after the fact. So you're more than welcome to do that. And it might mean that you'll get some great contacts out of the event itself. And because you are muted, I mean, as much as I would love to have you all unmuted, and maybe one day I'll test it out, it would be absolute pandemonium having 73 people all unmuted whilst listening to speakers. But who knows? Maybe it would work really well. But your way to interact and applaud these speakers as an audience is to put the letter A in the chat box. So, for example, if I'm in the audience, I might put a letter A. Now, if I really liked the talk, I might put a few of the A's. So I could say lots of A's. And if I am absolutely over the moon and finding that talk was unbelievable, it's changed my life, I can't wait to hear more and implement everything that I've heard, it might be something that looks a bit like that, where we have a bit more interactivity. Capital A's are going to be in there. So that'll be your way to interact and show the speakers your, I was going to use the word affection, probably not the word affection, but something along those lines where you appreciate their talks and what they are delivering on. Okay, good. So we've got a list of speakers in front of you. We've got 9 speakers today that we'll be having and delivering talks to and for you. And you'll be able to get in touch with them. There might be some contact details for a lot of them after they finish talking. And I'll probably encourage them to be sharing those sorts of things after they finish. So you do have a way to get in touch with them as well. And let's have a little look. Yeah, reach out. Feel free to ask about the recording. Just send us a message and say, can I have the recording after the fact? It'll probably take a week or two, just because there might be a little bit of editing. I'll have to brush up my features on the video to make sure that I look dynamic. But in general, it'll be there. It just might take a little bit of time to receive. So feel free to request those sorts of things. It's absolutely fine. It might just look a bit different. The edited version may look much more about me and the Josh show, but hopefully it'll be what you need. What else? Manoj, you asked, in an increasingly AI-driven environment, how can organizations leverage the AI ecosystem to transform ways of working by strengthening coaching practices and leadership agility? Well, I mean, that is a question, isn't it? That is a well-worded question with lots of potential points. I think really it's how can I use AI to help the business and how to use AI to help coaching. So I think there's lots of ways, really. I think for coaches, AI is a good practice tool to help themselves to improve. I think it's a good prompt tool to help them to understand that. We're still seeing the reality of AI and coaching being quite different, because the problem with AI sometimes is It'll tell you what you want to hear sometimes with coaching, so it doesn't really feel as objective as you might want it to within back and forth, and it can forget certain things. But it is helpful. It's a good way to practice and use it for creative thinking is a good way to, I think, use those sorts of tools. A certificate, not from today's session. It's more of a performance event that you'll get a chance to listen to some great speakers. Is this like a TED Talk? Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. It'll feel very familiar and similar to a TED style environment. Okay, good. Let me just see my slides. Yep, okay, so the next slide was the one I was hoping for. And that is the Let's Get Started slide. So we're going to be introducing the first speaker shortly, which will be Angie. And we've got some great speakers this evening. I've shared the list, people that have a wide ranging background, experience. Some have spent decades in a particular field, built businesses, doctors. There's lots of things to look forward to from the speaking list this evening. After they've finished, I'll be interjecting. We'll move to each speaker afterwards. There may be a slide for some of the speakers that have opted to share a bit of information with you afterwards, but I do encourage you to be engaging whilst they go through. Okay, good. Are we ready for the first speaker, everyone? Okay, good. I'm glad someone said yes, because otherwise we'd have to end the event immediately. Okay, good. Great. So our first speaker is Angie. Let me just remove the slideshow. And I'll share your slide afterwards, Angie, as well. So just so you've got context. Our first speaker is Angie Sam. And she's a London-based entrepreneur and co-founder of the Ladies Network Club, a women's social club built to create meaningful connection and community. She's also co-founder of the Academia Shastia platform that brings together a team of psychologists, life coaches, and mentors to support Ukrainian women navigating life in immigration. Having rebuilt her own life after moving countries, Angie really, truly understands what it means to lose a sense of identity, visibility, and confidence, and then find it all again through inner work and bold self-belief. So at the event today, Angie will deliver a talk from introversion to speaker, her transformation journey, and it's a personal story where she'll be sharing a lot of the things that have happened for her journey. So please put your hands together. The first speaker of the evening, Angie.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you. Public speaking, for most of the people, is more terrifying than death. I was definitely one of those people. Standing on a stage and speaking to a large audience, I would almost faint just thinking about it. But now, I'm here today with you, not fainting, no panicking, no stressing, well, maybe a little bit. But before overcoming that fear, I spent a tremendous amount of time and effort trying to overcome it, working on myself and on my mindset. Being an introvert and very, very, very shy person didn't help me in life at all. I missed far too many opportunities, even though I was running my own fashion business for 10 years, which is, of course, was demanding a lot of communications on every level. I remember once I was invited to the business event as a speaker to talk about how to launch a fashion brand. Of course, I knew my topic very well. I was running my fashion business. I launched it, so I had lots of information, full of information to explain and to share it, my experience. But I was so stressed, so panicked. My hands were shaky, they were sweaty, my voice stuck somewhere in my stomach. It was completely embarrassing. And I wish I could have the recording from that event, because until today, I don't remember what I was talking about. On my way back home, I said to myself, this is it. I can't live with this fear of public speaking anymore. Something had to change. By the way, have you felt something similar in your life? That moment that you felt that you can't live the same way anymore? If it's you, tap yes in the chat box. So this was my turning point. I needed a plan. I had to change something. So first thing I did, I started to educate myself on confidence and public speaking. I even became a certified life coach. I've completed public speaking mentorship program with Josh. And yeah, and even and to make this challenge even bigger, I decided to co-found a women's social club here in London. We organize every month. We organize live events. We invite speakers. We support each other. We grow together. And you know what? That was one of my best decisions in my life. This project gave me the opportunity to practice public speaking in a safe environment, grow my confidence, and even host workshops. Little by little, event after event, I started to feel the tiny shifts in my mind. And I realized that confidence is not about being fearless. It's about being brave enough to come up, to show with the fear anyway. So my business partner and I decided to go even further. Last year, we launched another project, one with a strong social impact. It's a platform for emotional support for Ukrainian women who live in forced immigration. And this project opened even more doors for us, more partnerships and more opportunities. And once again, fear of public speaking started to vanish more and more. And one interesting thing happened to me when I stopped being afraid of public speaking is that I started hosting webinars and doing talks on financial literacy for women. I never thought of work. Finance was not in my initial plan at all. But this topic resonates with me so deeply. I truly believe that understanding personal finances can give you more freedom in your life, more confidence, more stronger self-esteem, and more control over decisions in your life. And I think that women I think women who understand where they stand financially, they are not stuck. They can say yes to opportunities and no to the situation that no longer serve them. Along the way, I learned three important things. First one, all beliefs can be changed. You can hit delete and write a new story in your head. For my whole life, I was thinking that public speaking wasn't for me. And yet, here I am today, talking to you and sharing my story. The second one, small steps count. If I wasn't working on myself every single day, I would be in the same position like a year ago, hiding and avoiding. Of course, I didn't become Beyonce, but still, I'm proud of myself. And the third one, the last one, confidence and public speaking are the skills that you can develop. The more you practice, the better you get. Action is everything. So my message for you today is very simple. Never stop working on yourself. Always believe in yourself and trust yourself. Even someone like me, a shy introvert, can stand here today and telling my story, then everything is possible. Never forget about yourself and trust yourself. And start before you're ready. And never wait for a perfect moment, because it doesn't exist. Thank you. Yay!
Amazing. Well done. And
Thank
the chat
you.
box is filling up with applause
Oh,
as well.
that's very kind. Thank you.
I'll just write a note down actually. Start before you're ready. think a very important message. Like a lot of people wait until they're ready to do things in life, but normally you get ready by starting, right? Don't wait to
Yes.
begin, and then you'll feel ready.
Yes, indeed.
So let me share your slide for those that want to get in touch with Angie. I mean, it's so nice to hear Angie and what she's doing for a lot of people, and that journey of supporting others, building a community, being a great community and resource for a lot of women, supporting them, helping them. And I think, yes, being on a journey of development is great, but wanting to help people in the midst of that and build a community for them to be supported is a very, very powerful tool. So here's some details to get in touch with Angie if you wish. LinkedIn, Instagram, websites, and probably a QR code there for the Instagram piece if you wanted. I mean, how many of you have actually felt that fear of public speaking at some point in your lives? Give me a yes into the chat box if that's crept up for you.
Oh, I see. I'm not the only one.
Yeah, lots of people. Yoliz, maybe then we'll just have to actually search on the Instagram Angie _LND. You'll find that. Yeah, lots and lots of that fear, apprehension. It's a really common thing. And I think overcoming that, even just being here today, delivering a talk, demonstrates how far you've come and what you're doing. So big props to you. And why not Beyonce? Why not Beyonce?
No, maybe one day.
Yeah.
I'll invite you to my concert.
Yeah, 100%. We'll see the co-host at one point in the future.
Oh yes, you will be my co-host, opening the concert.
Yeah, 100%. I did hear that she does have a big fear of being in public as well, and she used to throw up before every performance. She would throw up, even though everyone saw her as this really confident person. So I think it's perspective sometimes is we assume other people are confident, but maybe they've got their own experiences too, and they're still taking action or doing things that they want to do. We can pop a wig on you, Tony, if you'd like. You're more than welcome to join for the event. I'm sure Angie'd be happy to stay in touch or get in touch. But it's more the community, I think, that's a little bit differently. Yeah, okay, good. Wonderful. Thank you, Angie. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
So our second speaker for the evening will be coming up shortly. Now, the second speaker is Dr. Margaret Thorley. And Margaret is an award-winning entrepreneur, international speaker, and a dynamic event host. She's the CEO of Hope and Restoration, which is a not-for-profit organization. She is a powerhouse of inspiration, a multiple award-winning entrepreneur, and is the host of the acclaimed Fathers Talk Show. And for over 40 years, she's dedicated her life to transforming communities through hope and restoration. And she's trained and empowered more than 1,700 single fathers, lone parents, and women to overcome challenges and build successful businesses. A passionate advocate for single fathers, Dr. Thorley combines compassion, leadership, and practical wisdom to help others to rewrite their stories, discover their purpose, and walk confidently in their destiny. So please welcome our next speaker for the evening, Dr. Margaret Thorley.
Thank you so much for that. And I'll put my time up. Now, what I'm going to talk to you about, the silent strength, the untold story about single fathers. They are in our community, and sometimes we don't notice them. So if I ask you a question, what kind of picture would you have in mind if I say to you, single fathers, what kind of picture would you have? Is it just single parents, like women, and that is it? Actually, within our community, we do have single fathers. They're there, but we don't notice them. They have limited support and they carry a heavy burden. What changed my story to start working with single father was one day I got a call from one of our partners to say, would you come in to see this father for us? I walked in to the office. I went to the reception, say who I was. They showed me where the father was. He was pacing up and down, worrying about something, but he wasn't talking. So I asked him, would you like a glass of water or coffee? He said yes. I went back and got a glass of water. We sat down. And the first question he asked me, why is it there's no help for single fathers? And I said, what's going on? What's happening? He said, I have no food, no gas, no electric. I just dropped my daughter to school today and I don't know what to do. And then I asked, is that something that happens very often? Occasionally, but I get help from family and friends. But this time they cannot help me. I had a little bit of money, but I had the bailiffs that came up one day during the week and I had to pay them. So I said, okay, give me a second. I popped out. When I spoke to one of the advisors, I said, you have the emergency fund for single parent. They said, yes. I said, I got a father who needs urgent help. I got a form. We sat, we filled the form. And I told him that you will have the money by 2 p.m. in your account. And then we share a story a bit more. But those are one of the issues that a lot of single fathers go through all the time. They find it difficult to ask for help and they feel there's no help there for them. One of the things as well that really impacts them, the loneliness, the isolation, and feeling that there is absolutely nowhere they can get help from. Currently in the UK, we got 200,000 plus single fathers within our community that needs our support. Some of the struggles that they go through that impacts their family, impacts their children, is mental health they struggle with, financial instability, and isolation. And these sometimes have a great impact on them. But we can help, we can support, because many of us where we are today, there are single fathers within our community, or you know single fathers. Have a conversation in the supermarket. Just stop, smile, have a laugh. For us, what we do is, when I had that experience, we then set up another section, which is purely for single fathers, and we run workshops for them, which is business startup and how to run a work-balanced life for themselves. And we created a safe space where they can come and share their journey and share their story. I was actually inspired when I saw this for the first time, where men were actually supporting one another. And one of the things that really happened, there was a single father who needed to go to court and he was afraid to go on his own. And one of the single fathers says within the group, bro, don't worry, I will go with you. I was so amazed, and he did. And that's the kind of support we constantly giving single fathers out there. Their strength is very silent. They move, they fight silently, but they are there. And we need to take time out and give them the support they need. They need the support. advocate. For me, it's one of my passion to inspire and to motivate them. And through that journey, I created the Father Talk Show. I host an event where I invite men that run their own business to come and speak, and particularly single fathers that overcome all the challenges and become who they are today. We also invite in our talk show as well, family courts, solicitors to interview them. So that way we can signpost those single fathers to get the best support that they need. That's one of my passions. And through my journey within the last 4 or 5 years working with single fathers, I actually wrote a book that's called The Unbreakable Bond, The Journey of a Single Fathers. In this book, I have real stories, absolute real stories of single fathers who say yes, so that we can share their story and show how these men, they chose to stand. And I thought it is amazing that we can celebrate them and share their stories. Let's support them. Let's salute them because they are in our community. I want to say thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share my journey, inspiring and motivating working with single fathers. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Margaret. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
I see all of you connecting in the chat box as well. I popped some details for Margaret into the chat box for those that want to follow along. Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. I think it's great to have these projects that are really important. They're going to have a real impact on people's lives. So well done. And I'm sure that you've helped lots of people and continue to do so. So I appreciate you for being here.
Thank you. I appreciate being here as well.
Okay, good. So we are well and truly getting settled in to the event now. And it gives you a little bit of a flavor of what to expect from this evening, the styles of speakers that you'll be listening to throughout this evening. And again, if you do have any questions that you want to be asking the speakers or engaging or having comments, by all means, feel free to add and ask into the chat box, and they may do their very best to engage with you. They're busy people, I mean, to be honest, but if they do have the time, then I'm sure you might get a message or a response back in the chat box. Yeah, in the chat box, Karen, you'll see the details of Margaret. Okay, good. We're going to roll on to speaker number 3. So speaker number 3 is Benedict Asalus, or Benny for short. And Benny is a coach and speaker focused on neurodiversity, leadership, and authentic self-expression. After more than a decade in the tech industry and motivational intelligence, transforming how she understood confidence, identity, and leadership, Benedict's work centers on supporting visionary thinkers and neurodiverse professionals who want to embrace how their minds work and turn what once felt like a difference into a strength. Through her coaching and speaking, she encourages leaders to build self-trust, reconnect with their inner voice, and create environments where different minds can thrive. So with a speech entitled Authentic Leadership Coach for Visionary and Neurodiverse Leaders, please welcome Benedict.
Thank you, Josh. Thanks. Now, imagine walking into a meeting. You smile, you make eye contact, you take your seat at the table, and you try to act normal. And while everyone else is talking, there's this quiet conversation happening in your own head. Does this make sense? What if this sounds strange? Maybe I should just wait. Or maybe I should just say nothing and regret it later. And before you know it, the meeting moves on and the idea just stays in your head. For a long time, I thought this was just being careful or being professional. But later I learned there was a word for it: masking. I spent more than 10 years working in tech, software sales, in environments where people are confident, sharp, quick, very articulate. And if I'm honest, for a long time, I didn't feel like I fully belonged there. I had a lot of imposter syndrome. I would look around and think, they're smarter than me, more confident than I am. They know exactly what they are doing. And I'm just here hoping that no one asks me a question because I don't have a perfect answer to, maybe. And I was constantly questioning myself. Even though I had ideas, I would often hold them back. And I would sit there thinking, is this good enough? Am I saying this the right way? What if I get it wrong? So instead of speaking up, I stayed more in the background. And I remember when I started a new role, I was managing a large client in the Netherlands. And they kept calling my boss instead of me when any issues would arise. And then later I got pulled into a meeting and my manager said to me, look, Benny, people need to know who you are. You need to speak up. They need to trust you and they need to know that they can come to you for anything, that you're that first person to contact. And I remember going home that day and it really hit me. I actually cried because part of me felt exposed, but another part of me knew he was absolutely right. I was holding myself back. And not because I didn't have anything to say, but because I was scared of how it would land. And for a long time, I didn't realize what was really happening. I thought, okay, I just maybe need some more confidence, more experience, more knowledge. But later, I understood something different. I wasn't just doing my job. I was constantly filtering myself, adjusting how I spoke, how I showed up, and what I shared. And that's what masking is. It's when you hide parts of how you naturally think or express yourself in order to fit in. And it can help you succeed, but it also comes with a cost. I would leave meetings feeling absolutely exhausted, not because the work was hard, but because of how much energy it took to constantly adjust myself. And I wasn't tired from that work. I was just tired from pretending. And then later, I started working with leaders, visionary people, people who lead teams, big thinkers. And something really stood out to me. So many of them would say things like, I feel like I'm too much. My brain moves faster than everyone else. I don't always feel like I fit in. And I found that so interesting. These were not people lacking ability. These were people creating change. And the traits that people were trying hardest to hide were often the exact traits that made them exceptional. Their curiosity, their way of thinking differently, their ability to see connections that others didn't see. And yet, in so many environments, we teach people to tone it down, to fit in, to be more like everyone else. But the future isn't built by people who think like everyone else. The future is built by people who think differently. So maybe the question isn't, how do we help people fit the system? Maybe the question is, how do we create systems where different minds can lead? Sometimes the cost of fitting in is that we stop sharing the ideas that could move things forward. And the brains that we ask to behave normally are often the ones capable of imagining what doesn't exist yet. So if we want innovation, we need different minds. And different minds cannot thrive behind a mask. So that's why today I coach leaders with a special focus on neurodiversity, helping them turn what makes them different into their greatest strength. Thank you.
Thank you. Amazing. Big round of
I
applause,
was nervous.
Yeah, of
Oh.
course. But I think it's a sign of a leader. You know, feel the fear,
Yeah.
but do it anyway, right? As Susan Jeffers says.
Yeah.
And you did a wonderful job, and you should be proud.
Oh, thank you, Josh. Thanks,
Yeah.
everyone.
And great feedback in the chat. People asking for some of your details as well, if you want to be sharing, Benny.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of those stories that resonated with me quite a lot, listening to you. And I think, you know, we have different words for it sometimes. You know, I often use the word people pleaser, but really just being able to adapt to what other people wanted rather than being yourself. And I think that masking word would kick in quite strongly there. And we're seeing that a lot of in neurodiversity, but in general as well. So I think it's really important, and I appreciate you for sharing a topic like this.
No, thanks, Josh.
And I think maybe for a few of you listening to these speakers, some things hit like a little button in your mind, in your brain, in your heart, or in your gut, perhaps, of, ooh, I feel this. I connect with this message. I understand it, not just logically, but through my own experience, how I speak, how I move through the world. And I think it's what you do with the information that you hear today, what you do with that, how you move forward, that really matters. So I do really encourage you to think about your action steps, what you can do. I think it's easy, isn't it, to listen sometimes to these great speakers and think, oh, wow, that was great. Then we get up tomorrow, we eat Weetabix or whatever you eat for breakfast. And you just get on with your day. And we kind of forget those really important things that have happened to you and that you've had. So I'd encourage you with the question, what am I going to take away from the event this evening? And it might have been from speaker 1, speaker 2, speaker 3, but it's more of a personal prompt for you to do something and to plan that. Because I think once we act on information, it can start to change things for you. Amazing. Appreciate you, Benny, for sharing. Okay, wonderful. So we're transitioning over into speaker number 4. And speaker 4 is Maria Vivici. And Maria is a highly skilled practitioner and researcher specializing in integrative approaches to health, well-being, and chronic pain. She holds a BS honors in psychology, counseling, and therapies, as well as a counseling diploma, which underpin her evidence-based and client-centered approach to practice. And she's a certified coach, hypnotherapist, Bowen therapist, mind-body Bowen therapist, and a certified practitioner in NLP and timeline. So bringing a diverse and comprehensive skill set to her work. Currently pursuing a PhD, Maria Elena and her research focuses on the application of mind-body Bowen in the treatment and management of chronic pain. Her work bridges clinical practice and academic research, contributing to the evolving field of integrative and holistic therapies. She brings a multidimensional perspective to her work, combining somatic therapies, psychological insight, and the mind-body techniques to support meaningful and lasting change. Her approach reflects a deep understanding of the complex interplay between physical health, emotional well-being, and the cognitive processes. She's also the author of the forthcoming book, Chronic Pain and Bowen Therapy, A Personal Journey, which explores her integrative approach, drawing on that personal insight that she has, as well as that professional experience in supporting individuals living with chronic pain. As a speaker, Maria is known for delivering insightful, engaging, and thought-provoking presentations that translate complex concepts into accessible and real-world applications. She's passionate about empowering individuals and professionals alike to adopt those integrative approaches that foster resilience, healing, and sustainable well-being. So please put your hands together for the next speaker, Maria.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you for the intro. Hello, everyone. I'm here tonight to talk to you about the pain we inherit. Chronic pain. It affects millions in the UK, but statistics don't tell you how it feels like to live in a body that hurts every day. And for a while, that body was mine. Now, by definition, chronic pain is pain that lasts longer than 3 months. Pain that goes beyond normal healing time. It sounds neat, contained, almost polite. But anyone who has lived with chronic pain knows that pain does not stay in one place. It spills into sleep, relationships, identity, and hope, because pain lives in the nervous system, and the nervous system remembers. Did you know that one of the strongest predictors for chronic pain isn't injury? It's trauma. It's early adversity. Experiences the body has learned long before language became available. Now let me show you what I mean. In a laboratory experiment, researchers exposed mice to the scent of cherry blossom. Now at first the scent meant nothing, but then they paired it with a painful stimulus. Over time, the mice learned the association. Eventually, scent alone was enough to trigger a fear and pain response. But here's the part that should make us all stop. The future generations of mice who have never experienced the pain reacted in the same way to the scent. No shock, no injury, no trauma. Just memory carried forward. Which makes us ask a question we don't ask often enough. What if trauma doesn't just happen to us? What if it travels through us? Now the experiment was controlled. It was clean, predictable. Life, of course, is not. So let me tell you a human story. When I met my husband, there was a pattern I couldn't quite understand. Every time birthdays or celebrations would approach, he would change. He became withdrawn. He would go to work for long hours, come home exhausted, and disappear emotionally. We argued, often, because to me that felt like rejection, like a lack of love, like I did not matter. And for years, we talked around it, but never through it. Until one evening, when I told him about that mice experiment, something shifted. He went quiet. Then he told a story he never fully told before. His grandparents once attended a wedding, a joyful day. They took their 7-month-old baby with them. Days later, the baby died from meningitis. And from that moment on, they never attended another celebration again. Not a wedding, not a party, not joy. Because you see, celebration had become dangerous. That association, joy, followed by devastation, did not stay in the past. It lived on, quietly, invisibly. So when celebrations approached, his nervous system reacted in the only way it knew how, by withdrawing, by shutting down, by surviving. Now that trauma didn't just impact their lives. It affected ours. And there's more. Trauma doesn't only create pain. It creates context. And context can trigger pain again and again. Because it becomes a dance, a loop between past and present, when the body reacts faster than the mind can explain. Now, this changed the way I viewed my own chronic pain, because my healing did not start when the pain stopped. It started when I stopped asking what's wrong with my body and started asking what has my body learned. I learned that safety is not a thought. It's a physical state. And I learned that fixing, that healing doesn't always come from fixing. Sometimes it comes from listening, from restoring choice, from reconnecting to the body as an ally, not an enemy. Now, this isn't a story about suffering. It's a story about resilience, that extraordinary capacity of the human mind and body to adapt, to protect, and when given the right conditions, to heal. And there's one more thing that I want to leave with you tonight. And that idea is that pain is not always a sign of damage, of injury. Sometimes it's a sign of a memory. And memory, when treated with safety, can change. Now that is the conversation I invite you to continue. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Maria. Round of applause.
I was extremely nervous, so
That's all right.
please
You're allowed to
excuse
be.
my nervousness.
No, of course. It often doesn't come across like you think. And I wouldn't have guessed that you were nervous when you're delivering.
It is a subject that I'm really interested in. I have a passion for. And of course, it's time that I share everything I know with everybody else, because keeping things to yourself does not help anybody.
I agree. 100%. And you've got a slide here that we're going to share for you as well, which has got some of the
Thank you.
information of the Mind Body Bowen. Maybe a screenshot for some of you that want to just absorb some of that information. I think it's important, isn't it, when somebody might ask me what topic to speak about. I think it's the topic of passion, the things that you care about, things that you're interested in are the most important ones. And that can sometimes help to override some of those fears because you believe in the thing enough to want to help and get a message out there rather than it just being insubstantial or something that you might talk about.
Absolutely.
100%. And the audience can feel that as well. Margaret, your hands up.
Yes, fantastic presentation. Thoroughly loved it. I just want to have you to explain just a little bit when you said you have to ask yourself, what am I learning on this pain? Because you're in pain, so I don't want to learn about it. I want to get rid of it. So can you just expand a little bit, and how do we do that?
Understanding patterns, it's vital in mind-body Bowen. As an approach, mind-body Bowen combines the somatic with awareness. Once that your nervous system is in a rest and digest state, which happens following the first two moves in Bowen, in the lower back, then the body can process, the nervous system can process. And once it integrates whatever you're carrying, you have been carrying for years, things will start slowly to move again it reconnects you with yourself. And this is what research on the vagus nerve is showing. Why so much research on the vagus nerve? Because the vagus nerve is an afferent nerve. So it takes information from the main organs to the brainstem. So it is important to consider our nervous system, because our nervous system is not me, Maria. When my nervous system is in flight or flight, my organs are in fight or flight. My digestive system is in fight or flight. My heart is in fight or flight. My lungs are in fight or flight. This is why all these physiological changes, our breathing changes, the heart rate changes, our digestive system, we cannot digest when we're in fight or flight. So this is why bringing awareness and integrating it with a state of rest and digest means moving forward and getting rid of the pain, getting rid of the chronic pain. Because the areas in the brain that's responsible for physical pain, it's also responsible for emotional pain. So what does that tell you? It tells us that we are treating physical pain, but we're completely forgetting about the fact that we are holistic people, and we need to treat as well the emotional part. Otherwise, it's just one part of the story rather than the whole of it. I'm hoping, I've answered your question somewhat.
And I think what would be nice is to
Thank you so much.
Is to pop your details into the chat box as well, Maria, just for anyone who wants to continue that conversation with
that.
you. Maybe some next steps and to discuss this sort of thing.
I will do that.
I think you have
and I will also, if
Yeah.
I have one more minute, then I will also want to share that this experience is not unique to what happened to in the talk, but it happened to other clients that I have seen, and I will follow with a book on this sort of experiences and how we can reconnect the thread through generations, because I think it's important. Thank you.
Yeah, amazing. Absolutely. Okay, lovely. And I think these different talks, different backgrounds, different experiences really help. And I think once we've got some of the research and theory behind this as well to give it substance, I think it really does definitely help, which is what Maria is bringing to the table. So we are well underway for the events this evening. I'm really enjoying myself. I'm sure a lot of you are as well by the chat box and your feedback that's coming in. We are moving over into the next speaker, speaker number 5. is Marcia Bennett. So Marcia, you should have the ability to unmute. I think I made you a co-host just for reference. So Marcia is a Christian entrepreneur and founder of a coaching and public speaking practice built on a foundation of diverse professional excellence. She brings a wealth of experience cultivated across the university, government, legal, and criminal justice sectors, as well as recruitment industry. With a heart for service and a proven track record, Marcia specializes in coaching, mentoring marginalized young people and young adults, empowering them to overcome barriers and achieve their full potential. So please welcome, with a round of applause, Marcia.
Thank you, Josh. Really appreciate that. And it's actually Barrett, not Ben, but it's okay. So thank you so much. I'm actually quite amazed by the previous speaker, what Maria was speaking about. So today, my speech is going to be, and I want to talk about the joy of pain. I want to ask you, have you ever reached a point in your life where everything feels uncertain? You know, where what you thought life would be no longer exists. And that's where the whole sense of the pain. I want to challenge us today that you can find joy in pain. Maybe not every pain, but there is the opportunity and the ability to find joy in pain. And it's about if we want to become unstuck. It's about the idea of joy sounds like a contradiction. How can you have joy in pain? What's joyful about pain? There's nothing joyful about pain. So there is a bit of a contradiction. And many people, especially those of us, hands up, who are 45 plus, we oftentimes face unexpected loss, change, and the starting over pain as well. And although it's a contradiction, I want to take you on a journey so that you can see that in pain, you can find pleasure. Pain is unpleasant. Pain is unavoidable. Pain is experienced in many different ways, whether it's physically, emotionally, mentally. And most people, if not everybody, they want to run from pain. Okay? And I'm sure that many of you listening thinking, where can you find joy in any kind of pain? But hold on, I want to challenge you. It's not about the pain itself being joyful, but it's what can come from and what can come out of that pain that can give you those moments of joyfulness. Pain, from my experience, hijacks you, holds us hostage. You know, it doesn't matter whether it's physical or emotional, you get stuck. And because you're stuck, especially if you're having episodes after episodes after episodes of one form of pain, another form of pain, and another form of pain, you start to fall into that place of inertia, getting stuck. And for people like myself, when you're in that age bracket, 45 plus, there comes a point where it's like, you're just so exhausted by the constant episodes or, you know, that period of life where you're going through so much painfulness and painful experiences that you just stop. All you're trying to do is catch your breath, just breathe. And sometimes you just want to sit there, and other times you just want to lie in a bed and just lie there. And there comes a point, or my experiences, there comes a point where you have to push past that pain. And I'm going to actually talk about my experience. For the last 4 years, I'd say I've experienced quite a lot of different pains. I've had a full-time, secure, permanent job, went through restructuring, that lost. So you're dealing with your sense of identity, the pain of losing work that you've enjoyed for years. Then you go to the next level when I'm trying to now find other work, and it's been hard and it's disappointing. You start to sort of reflect on yourself. What did I not do? Was I too silly? Was I not too focused on this way of working, and I didn't look at other opportunities? So you have that pain of losing work, losing finances. Then you have, for me, this pain of a relationship that I thought was there, but in the end, you realize after several years, it was nothing but a pack of lies. And you have to deal with all of those pains. That's emotional and mental, and you know, if you think you're somewhat of a smart person, how could I? How could I have not seen that, missed that? So you're dealing with another set of pain that's quite emotional. Then, Maria talked about chronic pain. Last year, since about July, sorry, I have gone through 3 different types of pain. That's why I'm actually sitting down. Right now, I'm dealing with a knee ligament issue. And since July, it was sciatica. And that was so excruciatingly painful. And it was pretty much for the rest of the year. And then whilst I was dealing with that, by September, I was attacked with sinusitis, really, really bad until January of this year. So it was, oh gosh, when she talks about not being able to sleep and being challenged to sleep and all that. So I have gone through financial pain, I've gone through physical, I've gone through emotional, relational, mental pain. And it hasn't been easy. As somebody who is a Christian, it's even challenged my faith. Like, why? Like, what is all this about? So it has been a very difficult time. And I would not say that pain is good, and I'm not suggesting that pain is good. But this is what I started to learn in my pain, because this is for 4 years. I started to see things. I started to feel things that I hadn't been doing for a long time. I've trained to be a coach, and I put it on the back burner because of work and full-time secure employment. Then I lost that. So all these things, all these dreams that I had, these ideas that I had that had been pushed back into the back burner, they started coming alive again, because I had to start to reinvent myself. I had to sort of see not so much the purpose of the pain, but to see out of the pain, there was something else that was brewing. Out of the pain, something else was growing. Out of the pain, I started to think about things that I'd put away. I started to think about, how could I get back into coaching? Who did I want to help? What did I want to do? What did I want to achieve? Out of that pain, I came to a place where I was so stuck that I was like fed up. I was tired of being stuck. I was tired of being tired. I was tired of being stagnant. I was tired of the pain. And I had to make the pain work for me. So I had to extract whatever I could out of the pain. And I remember years ago learning about an oyster and a pearl. The pearl comes out of an oyster. I'm going to repeat that. The pearl comes out of the oyster because of agitation. And that's what I mean when I say the joy that is coming out of the pain. Not that the pain is a good thing, but out of that pain, you can find some joy. You can find joy of discovering things about yourself, discovering how resilient you are, as Maria talked about, discovering how strong you are that you didn't actually realize you were. In all that battle with me, it was discovering inner strength. That's the kind of joy that I'm talking about, where it's not about the pain, but it's digging deep inside and extracting the pearl out of that oyster. It's about growing and actually using the pain to become and to do something different that you may never have thought of or considered. Where would I be if I just been doing the job? There was no restructuring. There's a good chance I would not be here tonight. And that's where I feel I want to embrace and where I encourage people. I want to work with people in my age group who are stuck, so distressed, so overwhelmed by pain, so heavy with pain that they can't see how to get out of the pain. But at the same time, there's something bubbling up inside of them that's saying, I want more. I need to go past that. But how? That's my goal. And that's part of my joy. That's part of my journey of finding the joy out of the pain, is to see and to walk with people and to help them get to that new difference, that new differently. So thank you.
And we had a crescendo sound coming in as well towards the end, which was lovely. Patricia, do you have a question for Marcia? Let me see if you've got a question. Go. I see your hand is
Hello?
raised. Did you have a question for Marcia? You raised your hand there. I'm not sure if it was a misclick.
Oh no, that was a mistake. My hand should not be up. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. That's all right. I'm happy to. I just wanted to see if you had a question. It might have just been that you were trying to pop something into the chat box or something.
No,
like
but
that.
I'm happy to be here on behalf of Margaret Thorley, and I'm happy to be here on behalf of what I just heard about pain, Marcia. That was awesome. Pain is
Amazing.
definitely an indication that something is going on and it needs to be addressed. I appreciated that message.
Thank you. And thank you for being here. And I see lots of support in the chat box as well. And I think it's a really powerful, but I think you'd agree, Marcia, it's one of those interesting, controversial topics that some people are going to steer away from. But I think that, and maybe give me a yes into the chat box if you can relate to that part of the journey of maybe the pain, maybe the difficult things in your lives have been some of the best moments for your growth, development, finding that sense of self, as difficult as it might have been in the moment.
Absolutely. I think you have those who will come out of it eventually, but there's those who avoid it.
Mm.
And I think that's some of the people that I like to work with, those who avoid the pain. Because there's something, especially with, it's easy, especially with emotional relationship breakup. Sometimes it's easy to just shut down the ostrich in the sand, head in the sand kind of thing. And and the longer you stay there is the more in a rut you become. And then the challenge is, how do you get unstuck? But yeah, I think, it's pain is something that we try to avoid. And to be fair, even the physical pain, I try to avoid. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And I think you'd agree as well that the actual comfort of avoiding things that are important for you is far worse than the pain of trying to do the things that are going to help you, even if they're scary. Right. So I think it's in a healthy way, leaning into those things where you can. Yeah, 100%. I often talk about the big three reasons why people change in life. And those big three things are quite challenging. It tends to be death, illness, or redundancy. We lose somebody around us, which is painful and difficult, but it changes our perspective. We get ill and we have to maybe stop doing what we're doing or think differently about life. Or again, it puts it into perspective. Or simply the job that we've found comfort in for many years that we're not actually fulfilled in, but it covers the bills, gets taken away from us, which causes that pain. And it's the best thing to happen to us. As scary as it might be for a short period, it forces a lot of people into that oyster analogy of doing something different, something that's often right for them that they've been waiting for. So I don't wish hard things on people, but I do think they can help you. And I think you'd agree, Marcia. And make sure you pop your contact details in the chat box, Marcia, because I'm sure I can
Okay.
tell many people resonated with you on that talk, myself included.
Thank you.
Lovely. And I love how these talks are kind of almost intertwined, but in slightly different ways. So we've got chronic pain followed by this style of pain. So I do think that links up very, very nicely. But I really appreciate you, Marcia. Thank you for sharing, and apologies for giving you my surname. Okay, good. So we're going to hand the reins over to the next speaker, speaker number 6, for the evening, Konji Bell. Now, Konji is a mum, long-term social worker with children, and embarking on a coaching career with a focus on empowerment. Having worked with some of the most vulnerable people, she is here to talk about identity, self-care, and self-discovery. So please, a warm welcome to Konji.
Thank you. So here's 48 years in a nutshell for you all. My garden was a mess. So I ignored it for a long time and it dried out, couldn't grow anything, not the vibrant daffodils or the sweet scented roses that I love or the dainty daisies. As a child, I knew exactly who I was because my parents told me. Very confident and stringent. This is who you are. Yet there was an imposter in my being, in my head, that I couldn't tell anyone, who kept talking all the time. And I didn't understand it myself. Thought there was something wrong. I was sad from very young, didn't know why, yet I wanted to save the world at the same time. So my journey around identity, self-care, and self-discovery has been packed with mental health needs, culture, tradition, gender, my profession, which gets a lot of stick, domestic abuse, self-harm, being a survivor, health, menopause, and what society tells me I am, and a lot of masking, which today I now know is called ADHD and not mental, as he said. After around 25 years of therapies, trying different things, my coaching journey has been such a triumph of self-discovery, and parting the shadow and clouds that I could not reach. So I uncovered weeds and I spoke to them. And you know, some weeds are so pretty, they serve a purpose and then regenerated to feed the roses. They say that something needs attention here. Who are you? So here is a question about identity. Think about this nicely in your own mind. Feel free to share if you'd like to, but just really this one. When was the last time you checked in with who you were becoming, who you're becoming, instead of who you've been? Okay. I'll just say that again. When was the last time you checked in with who you are becoming instead of who you've been? So just hold on to that. I mean, do you check with your phone more than yourself? Do you honor who you are? So there is a deep connection between identity and self-care. And self-discovery and coaching has really, really supported me and supported others for my learning to help navigate that journey. Identity, we know, is not rigid. I don't have the same identity as when I was a child. It's fluid, evolving, and you don't need to feel disloyal about that. So, just like a garden, some parts of it grow without you noticing. Some parts need pruning, and some parts you plant intentionally. And sometimes something beautiful grows in a place you never expected. It gives you oxygen, and that garden is your space. But the world around us is loud, and it constantly tries to tell us what our garden should look like, right? So my journey moved away from the cultural mold, taking what I loved about it and seeking other beautiful plants and flowers. Much to my family's dismay, they attached a label to me, and at times I felt that it was my label to own, but it just didn't feel right. Um, when I did my degree course, I was described as disgusting because I had acted out unexpectedly and they didn't see the weeds growing and surrounding me before I'd just had enough. I was being sexually harassed and I was labeled, and I had to see these people every day and just shrunk away in their judgment. In my job, I worked hard for 8 years, child protection, before I disclosed to my manager that I had previously tried to take my own life. And I had to show that I'm good enough before being judged. So I continued to grow water other people's yards and garden their yards, and a lot of the time with my share of resources. And I did that in relationships too. Being a parent gave me the strength to end a marriage. And I did become a shrinking violet for many years through fear. He often said he would take my children away, and I was mental. Amazingly, some might resonate. I did the Tony Robbins visualization, and it was just a ray of light, ending a second marriage, which had filled with beer cans and bottles, and then my blossom started to bud. I was surprised. It took 10 minutes of self-discovery by asking the right question. The world had been drowning out my voice and even my thoughts. And through those 10 minutes, that visualization, it just opened that beautiful garden and what I wanted it to look like. So have a think. Self-care is not about spa days or scented candles or these little bits and pieces that we do, because that's temporary. Real self-care is maintenance, like taking care of a car. So you wouldn't wait until the engine is smoking to change, well, hopefully you wouldn't wait to change the oil. And I've pushed through life saying, I'll rest when things calm down. I'll take a break when this is finished. I'll go to bed when I finish this report. But it doesn't end. And then I hit a wall, and I've done that many times. And mentally and physically, I can't go on. I'm forced to stop. There's no energy left to carry on. So who are you then? So it's been essential to me, self-care, evolving my identity, and I had to really know myself to care for myself, just like following instructions. So do for me what I've been giving to others. And coaching asked me questions that I had buried in the process of being worthy. So for yourselves, ask yourself, what do I actually want? What energizes me? What drains me? What values do I want to live by? And it's like turning on a light in the dark. So I've had the fortune of seeing some of these lights switch on throughout my career, throughout the coaching, and the amazing breakthrough aha moments. It's there, it's real. And coaching has been so powerful. It doesn't give you answers, it helps you hear your own. So strengths are uncovered really by asking the right question. And I love hearing, oh, that's a good question. So take it seriously. So self-care is like protection. My garden needed water, sunlight, and space to thrive. I needed to thrive. My children needed to see me thrive so that they can. So there's no more I'll do it later, although I can be either totally up or totally down. So it's looking at balance and consistency. And I could only see to help that take the steps towards that bigger picture that you can't just leap to. And my strength was knowing that I needed support. And there it was, the coaching support to help me grow. So I've discovered so much about me, which sounds silly at the age of 48, and I'm still am. And I'm glad I'm still discovering. People have noticed, my children have noticed, and I feel proud that I've noticed. It's not just about you. Who you are, who people see, has a ripple effect and the potential to be a great role model and leader without even realizing. So, when I asked you before, when was the last time you checked in with who you are becoming instead of who you've been? It's at any stage, at any point in your life. And there is someone for everyone who can ask the right questions. So, I hope if you take anything from me today, let it be this. Make space for that check-in. Not once a year, not only when life forces you to, but regularly, intentionally, and with compassion. Because the moment you pause and ask yourself that question honestly, you begin the real work of aligning your identity with your well-being. You begin tending your own vibrant garden and choosing the next version of yourself instead of inheriting it by accident. And now, my garden is exhilarating. Thank you for listening.
Amazing. Well done. Thank you. I love the garden analogy, by the way. It works very well. I love the flowers. And the background. It's all aligned. We're on theme. And again, I do encourage you, pop in your details into the chat box. I'm sure people are going to be interested in your coaching work, what you do, the conversation. And it may be that even, when we reach out to people about this sort of thing, it may not be with any ulterior motive other than just to say, that was amazing. Thanks. Where can I find more about you? Those sorts of things are relevant. I think it's helpful to find a community of people that are aligned with what you want to do, where you want to go, your values. And I'm sure many of you, I can see a lot of you nodding and adding into the chat box as you're speaking and sharing. So I think that's the thing that we're looking for here. Even the tattoo is aligned, Kanji, with that. I thought you were showing me that purposefully. Then I was like, oh yeah, and that's we're all there. We've got a tattoo today purposefully for the theme. So well done. You've gone all out. Gardening for a greener future. I like that. Okay, good, amazing. And I appreciate you all so far as an audience. You're a good audience. I'll give you that. You are engaging. You're with us. And I think that helps the speakers a lot of the time. I know that we can come to these events and kind of just be listening. I mean, I'm quite introverted, believe it or not. I am a host, so I tend to speak a bit more. But in general, I would be the kind of person that is kind of being quiet and not doing too much. But I think when you do get engaged, it helps you, doesn't it, as well? It helps you to onboard that information, to be present. It seems to connect on a different level than if it's just in the background and not as present. So yeah, I think you're all doing really, really well supporting the speakers. So my props, I tip my hat to you for doing this. And hopefully, again, we're taking messages and thoughts away as we go. Sure. That's funny. Okay, wonderful. So we are flowing all the way through. We're on to speaker number 7. I can't believe we've got there this quickly. Speaker number 7 for this evening is Christine Legault. And Christine is a mum to 4 wonderful neurodiverse children. She runs workshops. She works with parents to help them navigate them in the SEND world in and around Birmingham, with workshops and programs and what she does, and helping you to discover who you are, how you work, and bringing those together to ensure that you reach your goal. So please welcome our next speaker for the evening, Christine.
Thank you, Josh. So I'm going to talk tonight about when equality meets difference. Now, that sounds a bit convoluted. Can you treat everybody equally, but also celebrate differences? So which is it? Do we need to choose one, or can we truly do both? At first, it sounds really simple. So equality feels like it's very clear, isn't it? Treat people the same, give everybody the same opportunities, apply the same standards. And it sounds fair, it sounds right. But then reality steps in. Because in reality, no 2 people are actually the same. We all come from different backgrounds, we have different abilities, cultures, beliefs, experiences and challenges. And suddenly, the idea of treating everyone exactly the same starts to feel incomplete somehow. So today I wanted to explore the tension between the equality as a principle and individuality as a reality, and ask you a deeper question. What does it really mean to treat people fairly? So think about equality as a principle. So equality is it's the foundation that's used for justice, for human rights, for democracy. It tells us that every person has equal worth. So no one should be judged based on their race, their gender, background, their different ability, or any other label. Without equality, we start to open that door to discrimination and bias. And we know what the consequence of that is. So systems then value some more than others. Opportunities aren't shared, voices are silenced. So equality does matter. It protects dignity. It creates a baseline where everyone's treated fairly. And it gives us serves as a reminder that every person does deserve respect. They do deserve to be treated with dignity. But here's the problem that we face. Equality, when misunderstood, can become overly simplistic. So that just assumes everyone is starting at the same point. And that really isn't true, is it? So an example would be, you've got 2 students, they're sitting down for an exam. One's got access to private tutor, they've got a quiet place to study, they've got all the resources that they need, and they've got no other responsibilities. But then on the other side, you've got the student who's juggling responsibilities at home. They may be a carer, they might be able to work part-time. They've got a lot of other stresses that are going on behind the scenes that nobody sees. Treating them equally would mean that we're going to give them the same test, with the same amount of time, and with the same expectations. Is that really fair? Or is fairness about recognising that they've got different circumstances? So this is where the individual person, their being, comes into effect. It's not as a challenge to equality, but it's a reality that we can't afford to ignore. That being said, people don't just differ on the surface. This is how the world is shaped because of those differences. And when we ignore those differences, that's when something really important gets lost. One of the biggest risks of focusing just on equality, on sameness, means that we're going to erase the identity. And I think that's so important. Everybody is unique. When we say we don't see differences, it might sound like we're being fair, but what we're actually doing is overlooking what that person is, what people makes them people. The culture, the languages, the personal history. Can't ignore those. They're things to be understood and valued. It's someone's identity, it's part of their experience. And if we refuse to acknowledge it, we're not treating them equally. We're dismissing a part of them. So think about it like this. If someone tells you their story, their struggles, their perspectives, and you respond by saying, well, everyone's the same, you're not being fair. You're being blind to their reality. Equality shouldn't mean ignoring the difference, because difference is not a problem to solve. It's equality. It's a reality to respect. But here's where it gets complicated. If treating everyone the same isn't always fair, does that mean we should treat everyone differently? And if so, how can we avoid creating new forms of unfairness? So it's a balance, isn't it? We have to be able to respect the differences and treat them accordingly, but that doesn't mean that everyone then needs to be treated differently. Okay? So we've got equality that ensures that everyone's valued and respected. But then we have diversity, which recognises that people's needs, experiences, and identities are not identical. So the goal isn't to choose one over the other, it's actually to bring them together. So what could that look like? That means shifting our thinking from equal treatment to equal respect. So equal treatment would say everyone gets the same thing. Equal respect, however, would say everyone gets what they need to thrive. It means listening instead of assuming. It means asking questions instead of applying one-size-fits-all solutions. It means being flexible, thoughtful, and aware. So if you think about schools, they have to offer different types of support for different students. In the workplace, it might mean that you recognise that people have different strengths and challenges. In everyday life, it could mean simply taking the time to understand someone's perspective before judging it. Now, that isn't being unfair, and that's not about giving unfair advantages because of. It's actually about removing those barriers. It's about understanding the importance of that difference and the impact it can have on you, on us as a society. But being honest about it, it's not always easy, is it? Treating people equal is simple. It's a clear rule. Everyone's treated the same. Treating people fairly, however, while respecting their differences, is going to require effort. So it's going to require empathy. It's going to require awareness. It's going to require us to move beyond quick judgments and easy answers. It's going to involve us looking and finding out why people do what they're doing. And it's going to, at times, make us feel uncomfortable. And we have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Because to recognise the difference means that we're actually acknowledging that person's experience, including the hardship, including the equality, and they're not the same as our own. But it's not something to avoid, this discomfort, isn't. It's something to learn from. So thinking about the things that we see, things that we experience, thinking about, yesterday I read an article and it was talking about diversity and neurodiversity, and it was saying that you can acquire neurodiverse by having a stroke. And obviously you have ones that are born, I'm neurodiverse, diagnosed both autistic and ADHD. And what they were saying was that if someone has a stroke, they're expected to receive the same input as if someone was born with a neurodiverse condition. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. They need support, they need the right things put in place. Now, if you was to have a stroke, which I wouldn't wish on anybody, but they would put in therapy, they would put in speech therapists, they would put in things within the home, they would put everything into place straight away. If you have a child with an additional need, you have to fight for those things. So in real terms, if you were going to treat them the same, people that have an acquired neurodiverse wouldn't receive the input that they do get. So again, it's looking at the balance. If we know things are going to happen, what can we do about it? So where does that leave us? We start with a question. Can we treat everyone equally and celebrate our differences at the same time? And the answer is yes, but only if we rethink what equality really means. It's not about making everyone the same. It's not about ignoring differences or pretending they don't exist. True equality is about ensuring that every person is valued, respected, and given a fair chance because of who they are, not in spite of it. So the next time you hear someone say, treat everyone the same, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, is sameness really fair? Or is fairness something deeper? Because in a world full of differences, equality should not flatten those differences. It should uplift them. It should make space for them. And should remind us that fairness is not about sameness, it's about understanding. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you. I appreciate you. I see lots of applause coming in through the speech and towards the end. Really well done. Appreciate you so much. And I like the framing of it because I think it's that well-known thing that's heard a lot, and I think it's turning it on its head a little bit. So I do like the way that you brought that out. So thank you so much. And there is a slide for those that would like to have any contact details for Christine. QR code, probably the easiest one. And maybe it'd be worth popping that LinkedIn into the chat box as well, Christine, just for easy access. Yeah, and I think the more that we talk about these topics of what is inclusivity, what is it about being fair, how can we be supportive, and bringing more of these conversations to the forefront, I think it'll help us with the change. I tend to think about a lot of this stuff as a slow moving train. It seems to take a long time for things to change, but I think with enough time, we do get there. And I think it's people that raise awareness just like this that help us to get out there in the right ways. So yeah, 100% on board with a lot of this stuff. And I think it's very, very powerful. And it's important to be around these environments, I think, for a lot of you to help challenge our thinking, what we consider to be right and wrong, and how we are actually helping people. Because I think a lot of people have good intentions with this, but it's knowing how to translate that into effective support, community, and language as well. Okay. So we have got our final speaker coming up. It's flown by, and I would encourage you to stay on that path of professionalism. I know it's tempting to add pitching messages into the chat box, but I do try to aim on that professional path of being here for the speakers and engaging with them and those sorts of things. And the final speaker, we have saved the best for last. I'm just kidding. It's everyone else. They're all equal. They're all wonderful. I was just trying to prompt and probe to see if we get any reactions from the speakers. We've got a powerful last speaker in Apollonia Gasparini. And Apollonia is a survivor, advocate, storyteller, and creative voice in the healing community. After enduring 20 years of abuse from age 5 up until 25, she carried a lot of the fragmented memories from another decade until her niece's disclosure in 2018 shattered the protective fog surrounding her own trauma. At 35, Apollonia finally spoke her truth and began a transformative healing journey. Through writing, art, and authentic sharing, she empowers other survivors to recognize that their voice is their most powerful tool for healing, that it's never too late to reclaim your narrative and become the author of your own life. So please, a warm welcome to our final speaker of the evening, Apollonia.
Thank you, Josh. So tonight, I want you to imagine something with me. Imagine that when you were 5 years old, someone gave you a backpack. Yes, a backpack. They didn't ask you if you wanted, they didn't explain it, what was inside. They just place it on your back and tell you to carry it. And you carry it. You carry it because you were little and you didn't know that you can say no, because no one explained you that you had the right, and because sometimes carrying that backpack was the only way that you keep standing. And the years went by, you grow up, you become intelligent, you become successful, capable, you learn to walk so well with that backpack that the people around you will say, look how strong she is. And you just smile and keep walking. But no one saw what you yourself almost couldn't see was that every step cost you twice as much as everyone else because you were carrying something that they weren't. I was that girl. I was 5 years old when the sexual abuse began. And for 20 years, yes, 20 years, I carried that backpack of constant sexual abuse without knowing it could be let go. I built a perfect life on the outside. I studied, I worked, I achieved. I was the woman who had an answer for everything, the one who never asked for help, the one who never broke on the upside. Because on the inside, there was something that no one could see. A very heavy silence. A fatigue that didn't go away with vacations. A fear that had no name but lived in my body and mind every single day. And one day, without drama, without a visible crisis, and without anyone noticing, my body simply said, enough. And I had to choose. Keep carrying that backpack or finally put it on the ground and open it and see what was inside. Thanks God, I chose the latter. And that changed everything. Today, I haven't come to tell you my story of pain. I haven't come to tell you the 3 things that I learned when I decided to stop surviving. First, when I had my perfect life on the outside, I often wondered why certain things weren't working. For example, why I couldn't ask for a raise payment even though I deserved. Why I would freeze up around certain bosses even though I was the most competent person in the room. Why I say yes when I want to say no. And why even resting made me feel guilty. I didn't understand. But then I learned something about trees. Yes, trees. When you see a very tall, lush, robust tree, what you see is what is above of the ground. But what sustains that tree is underneath, the roots, right? And if the roots grew around a stone, the tree will grow crooked. Not because the tree is bad, not because the tree doesn't want to grow straight, but because no one removed the stone. My roots had grown around the abuse, around the silence imposed on me, around the fear that settled in when I was too small to defend myself. And that fear, that stone, was still there, underneath of everything, telling my tree how far it could go, limiting my salary, limiting my relationships, limiting my voice. So the first thing that I learned in this journey was, you cannot change what you cannot see. And what is on the ground cannot be seen by looking at the branches. It's seen when you have the courage to go to the roots. Second thing, when I was little, I learned things to survive. I learned that if I didn't make noise, I was safer. I learned that if I pleased everyone, the danger was less. I learned that if I was perfect, no one would hurt me. Those lessons were brilliant. They saved me truly. But there is a problem. Those lessons were stored somewhere deep inside, like a file on a computer, and they stay active. Imagine that you have a very old computer, and there is a program installed years ago. You grow up, you bought a new computer, you have more memory, more speed, more capacity, but the old program, the one installed when you were little, is still running on the background, consuming energy, making decisions for you without you choosing it. So this is what trauma does. It doesn't stay in the past. It instills itself in your present. And it runs in the background every single day, telling you not to ask for too much, not to take too much space. even telling you that success is dangerous, that love is a trap, that even rest is not allowed for you. So the second thing that I learned in my healing journey was that you can install a new program. You don't delete the old one overnight, but it can be updated. And when it updates, when the system learns this is finally safe, everything changes. Your voice changes, your decisions change, your body changes. Because for the first time in a long time, the program running inside you says, you can live now. Not just survive, live. And the third thing that I learned, and was the most harder for me, and the one that who transformed me the most, is that I want to erase everything. I wanted what happened to me never happened. I wanted to be someone else, a person without that story. And then I understood something about rivers. A river cannot flow without a bed. The bed is the channel where the water runs. And often the bed is formed because something, a stone, a root, a landslide, shaped it over time. The river didn't choose the path, but that path was what gives direction, what gives the strength, and what makes a river and not a puddle. My story is a riverbed. What happened to me wasn't fair. It wasn't right, but it shaped who I am, how I think, the precision with which I can see the pain of other women, the authority with which I can tell them, I was there too, and there is a way out. So the third thing that I learned is that you don't have to erase your story to be free. You have to reframe it. You have to stop seeing it as the reason that you cannot move forward and start seeing as the exact map of where you need to go. I don't erase those 20 years of abuse. I don't pretend they didn't happen, but I no longer carry them as a weight. I carry them as a tool, as the most precise map that exists to walk alongside women who are where I once was. To close, I want to leave you a one question. You don't have to answer it now. You don't have to answer it out loud. But I do want you to take it with you. So listen carefully. What would you be doing today if you weren't carrying that backpack? Because that answer, that image that just come to your mind is not a dream. It's an instruction. Remember, your story is not a prison. It's your purpose. Thank you.
Amazing. That's so good. Thank you, Apollonia. And tons of support in the chat box as well. I always feel this immense feeling of admiration for someone that's been through hardships and challenges and has decided to help other people that are going through something similar. So honestly, it's a huge thing. It's very inspirational, and I appreciate you so much. And I think with that powerful story, I think you'll help many, 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 many people, Apollonia, as well. So thank you so much. And Apollonia's details in the chat box, and almost a bit of a call of a service for anyone that you might recognize going through that, or something for yourself to go through that, to get in touch. Lots of support available. And what an amazing night. Feels wonderful. And there's more contact details in there for Apollonia as well, folks. There's the link in there to click to open up. And I think that backpack reference, we had so many good references today about how to think about our situation. And I think sometimes when you haven't got the right language, it can feel like it's just me. And when we identify with the thing, it's harder to shift. When you can externalize and turn it into a backpack or a garden or something else, it can feel more manageable and doable because we can tend the garden. We can take that backpack off. We can think about life in those different ways. So I really appreciate the metaphors, the analogies that have been brought in this evening. And I don't need to ask if you've had an enjoyable evening. I know you have. I know you've all had a great evening. You've all stuck around. Sometimes with these events, we have an interesting thing that happens where we have this big fluctuation of people coming, people leaving, and there's this big swing in numbers that happens throughout the evening. Whereas with tonight, even up until the final speaker, we're pretty much at a very consistent number. I can tell that a lot of you are locked in, very present, very focused on the speakers and what they've got to share. And I think the speakers have done such a powerful job for you as well. So I think, firstly, huge round of applause for all of the speakers this evening, folks. It's been a wonderful evening, lots of consistent speaking, and you should all be very proud of yourselves and that you're here to speak and share a story to help people. But it's no mean feat to be out here sharing and delivering, especially in the ways in which that you all have. A big round of applause for yourselves. I think you've helped to make the event. If it was just the speakers and me, it'd be nice. I'll be honest with you. And I do get to see this a lot in my day to day, but it wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't give you that same energy. You know, all the applauses, the hearts, the A's in the chat box. It kind of makes it the event. So I applaud all of you for showing up and being present. You should be proud of what you put in to an event like this. It does help, and it helps us to run it really well. We've got the recording for those that do want to watch that back in the near future, or even share it with your networks if you want some of these messages to resonate with people. You're more than welcome to do just that. And it's been a pleasure. We will host these sorts of events throughout the year, so you'll probably get emails if you're part of our email list. If not, I do recommend registering for an email list. Head over to our website, speakupchallenge.com. We tend to have a lot of these different things happening throughout the months and years. So we hope to see you back in a near future. It's been an absolute pleasure supporting you, helping you. Again, thank you to all the speakers this evening. Have a wonderful evening, and we hope to see you again in the near future, folks. Goodbye, good night, bless. Bye, folks.